Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to a recap of the Challenge Ride or Dies episode number 10. All right, now, before we talk about tonight's episode, very important we talk about what happened last week. Did we have an elimination and eviction? Nah, didn't lose anyone last week, but we did have a major change in the game. Are we at the halfway point? It feels like we could be at the halfway point because TJ changed the rules up on the contestants a little bit, a whole lot. The whole theme of this season is ride or dies. Everyone came in with their duo partner. Some of them vets and vets, some newbies and newbies, some mix of the two, but everyone had their ride or die that they were attached to at the hip. No more, because last week it all changed up. TJ said from this point, well, not from this point on. We know it could all change next week, but TJ broke up the ride or dies. Instead, had Faisal and Mariah, who had won last week's challenge, as captains to pick all two teams, kind of a draft back and forth to decide who they wanted on their teams. The main thing is that every ride or die duo split up. One person on one team, one on the other team. How's that going to affect everyone going forward? Well, it's certainly going to force a lot of new alliances, new loyalties, potentially new enemies as well. There's a lot of strategy that's being talked about with that. So with all that being said, we now have our two teams. Let's talk about what happens this week. And I think we may have an elimination at the end as well. First of all, Faisal and Nelson are talking. Very happy with their team. And it does seem Mariah did a good job last week. It seemed like of arguing with Faisal and saying, I want Jordan. I mean, she seemed like she was fighting for the people she wanted, but it seems like Faisal got the best of the back and forth draft in this case, because he truly has a stacked team, a lot of strong players, a lot of veteran players as well. I think they mentioned at one point during this episode that there's only 2 newbies on Faisal's team. There's 4 newbies on Mariah's team. So there seems to be a little bit of an unbalance. Nelson and Faisal, very happy with this. Now, as I hear them talking, gloating, let's just call it gloating at how well they did on getting this team put together. All I could think was, it seems like you've got one team competing against the other going forward, right? What if TJ switched it up just a little bit and said, oh, no, we're not doing that. One team, 1 week, one team will be fighting internally to see who goes home. Next week, it'll be the other team. I'd love to see him stir it up just a little bit. Is it going to happen? I don't know, but don't always be so certain about your position in this game. But Nelson and Faisal certainly are happy with the team that they've got. Now, Tori is also pretty happy with the team as well. She's on with Faisal as well. But she is wondering on the other side, on Mariah's team. And I say Mariah's team and Faisal's side, not because they have any extra power from this point going forward, but just because they're the ones that made the initial picks. But Tori's wondering how Jordan and Devin are going to be working together. They don't necessarily trust each other. They haven't worked together well in the past. So she's a little curious to see how the two of them are going to operate. There's a lot of triangles going on, a lot of different relationship issues happening this week. And it seems like a lot of involve Jordan and Tori. They're kind of the focus this week. So she's wondering how that's going to work. Devin is pointing out to his team saying, look, I know the other team seems like we're a little bit of a disadvantage from strength and from size, but we got other things where we may have a little more endurance than they do. We've got things that balance them out. That's why he's telling everyone else. In private, Devin's saying, yeah, it seems like we're maybe a little bit under the 8 ball at this point in time. Probably a little bit of a disadvantage, but you never know how this is going to work out, right? Nani talking to the team. She's also on Mariah's team. She's saying, look, I think that we'll balance each other out pretty well. We should be fine. We've got puzzle solvers. We've got some endurance people. We've got different people that are good at different things. I think we'll be just fine. We're going to find out. But she also is talking about the fact that she's worried about the fact that Jordan and Nuris are teammates and how that's going to affect the dynamic, since the two of them are hooking up with each other. Apparently they spent a night all by the lonesomes together in a room with no one else in there. And so definitely they're getting a little closer as time goes by. So you got Tori worried about Jordan and Devin working together. You've got Nani worried about Nuris and Jordan hooking up, and and trying to work together and how that affects everyone else on their team. Just a lot of things to be worried about as we see these new teams fleshing out and figuring out how they're going to work with within each of these two teams. Now, Devin, as much as he may worry, as much as he may try to cheer up the rest of his teammates, he's not going to let any time rest. He's immediately trying to work some deals, trying to make sure that his position is as safe as possible. So he's talking to Jordan and saying, look, normally maybe we wouldn't always work together and all that. He said, but I can be trusted. I truly can. I do a lot of strategy. I do a lot of talking, but I can be trusted. And he says, I only have one goal right now, Jordan. That's to protect you and me, and along with you and me, Aneesa and Tori. If the four of us can stay watching out for each other, I don't care about anything else. I just want us four to be working together. And he's got a good point. They're strong. Jordan and Devin, certainly two of the stronger males in this group that are going to probably be targeted. So it makes sense for them to watch each other's back and also do what they can to keep the target off of Aneesa and Tori, since they were kind of, former ride or dies. Aneesa was with Jordan, Tori was with Devin. So Devin said, look, just because we're not officially ride or dies, it could change somewhere down the road. Let's watch out for each other. So he's making good offer on that. But the thing is, this whole Tori and Jordan situation, Tori's upset. Well, they're upset at each other because they used to be engaged and all that, and now Jordan's spending time with Norris. This whole situation truly could blow up any kind of deal that Devin makes, and he's aware of that. He wants to try to nip that in the bud and get something worked out before things happen that they can't control any further. And the situation is certainly awkward in the house. Tori is not wanting to stay indoors. At one point, they show him in the kitchen, Jordan and Tori both fixing meals, really not even talking to each other. Just not a friendly situation. I don't think they hate each other. They're just not really wanting to be around each other, it seems like, at this point in time. So we've got that. Now, we also have some other people talking about these teams and how things are going to work. Casey is on the team with Faisal. She's certainly part of the stacked team. But she's feeling hopeful that Nany and Kenny, who are both on the other team, will hopefully watch out for each other. Her girlfriend and her brother will hopefully watch out for each other on the other team, try to protect each other as much as they can. And I think that's a valid assumption. The key is just how much control will they have to be able to protect each other. We're going to find out as we go along. So with all that being said, everyone trying to figure out where their new place is with these two new teams that formed, it's time for the competition. So let's talk about the competition. Now, the first thing I noticed, they're down in Argentina. I can't remember when they filmed this. Our springtime, our summertime, perhaps, which down in Argentina, our summertime is their wintertime. All I know is that they show up to the challenge. They're all wearing coats, and it looks like this competition is going to be taking place up over water. That doesn't, for coming from a guy who can't stand cold, that looks miserable to me. Cold temperatures and water, not a great combination. But hey, they're going to face a whole lot worse as they go through this season. So we'll see what happens. Now, I mentioned earlier, how great would it be if it wasn't actually team versus team, but teams fighting internally? Nah, at least not for now. That's not going to be the case. TJ tells us it is indeed going to be team against team. I think Faisal's team maybe is Team Pink and Mariah's team's Team Blue or something. We're just going to keep calling Faisal and Mariah for at least for now. They're going to be competing against each other. The name of this particular competition is Last Life. They've got some kind of in-game promotion with Puss in Boots, new movie coming out. They show a little trailer and all that, but basically it's just kind of almost a last man standing or keeping track of which team beats the other team the most times. That's basically what's going on. So here's how the competition is going to work. Excuse me. One player from each team is going to meet at a platform, a walkway over the water. You've got two big platforms where all the teammates are waiting, and then a walkway between the two of them, maybe 2 foot across or so. So one player from each of the teams will walk out in the middle. TJ says go. That's it. It's a fight to see who can stay on that walkway, push the other one off into the water. If they both go into the water, it's whoever was on the walkway last before they went in that wins the point for their team. So knock your opponent into the water, earn a point for your team. which I say whichever team has the most points, but I think it's broken up into gender. All the men are competing, then all the women. I think if one team wins the men's side, the other team wins the women's side, regardless of points, then they have a sudden death tiebreaker. But basically, knock your opponent in the water and get a point for your team is what it's all about. I love it. Nothing fancy about it. It's just pure brute force and dexterity and keeping your balance and everything else. Now, I will say this kind of challenge seems like it's a little more suited for Fessel's team with a little stronger players and all of that, but you never know, right? All right, so let's start off with the competition, talk about how these go, and I'm going to go through them really fast because, yeah, obviously everyone competing. Nelson versus Devin. Nelson's on Fessel's team. Devin's on Mariah's team. They both end up going in the water. Pretty good competition. They both end up going in the water, but Nelson was able to stay on the platform just a little bit longer. It was a split second, but Nelson gets a point for Fessel's team. Next up, Horatio versus Bananas. Horatio has been killing everything he's done so far. Bananas just celebrated his 40th birthday. Is he slowing down just a little bit? Well, maybe so, but I will say this. It's a long battle. Bananas certainly holds his own. Neither one of them's giving in on this. It's a long battle, but eventually Horatio does knock Johnny Bananas in the water. So now we've got 1 point for each team. Next one is Jordan versus Chauncey, the vet versus the newbie. Chauncey takes it. Yeah, Chauncey, who's part of Team Mariah, takes it. So now you got 2 points for Mariah's team, 1 point for Fessel's. Next up, Fessel versus Casey's brother, Kenny. All right, this one, some competitions lasted a long time. We're a little stressful watching and going back and forth. Not so much this one. Fessel basically just goes out, grabs Kenny, and the only thing it could make it go faster is if Kenny just jumped in the water as Fessel approached. It was very quick. Kenny goes in the water. Fessel wins this point for his team. And then finally, we've got Horatio versus Fessel. Oh, I talked about it. Fessel wins it easy. And did I miss a few of those? I don't know. I've got the final score as Fessel winning this thing. Fessel's team winning. So Fessel has won the men's competition. And other than one or two decent comps, they take it pretty easily. So now we go into the ladies' competition. The first one we've got Team Mariah. So let's just go ahead and start with her. We've got Mariah versus Casey. Casey's a badass. That's all there is to be said for it. Casey gets out there. Yeah, Casey takes it with ease. Mariah talked a good game, and I thought for a second maybe she could do something with it. Nah, Casey, she gets Mariah off without a whole lot of effort. So they're up by 1 on that. Next two going up are Olivia versus Nani. Now I'm looking forward to this one. Olivia has continued to impress me. When she started off, Love Island contestant, I'm like, yeah, she's all about the love, not the competition. Yeah, she's proved me wrong. Olivia's played a fantastic game so far, strategically and from a competition standpoint. Nani is certainly no one to be messed with as well. She's a fighter when it comes down to it, and they fight back and forth. There's nothing easy about it, but Olivia does eventually take it. She basically just flips Nani over and flips her in the water, and Nani hits hard. She hits kind of on the side of her head a little bit, and she floats back to the surface. I'm glad she floated back to the surface, but she's not moving. She is in a lot of pain, feeling very uncomfortable. She's hurt. We see the medics racing out there to make sure that she's okay. Pull her in, load her up in an ambulance or an EMT vehicle, and it looks like she's freezing to death, not feeling good at all. And they take her away. Hopefully she's okay. The way challenges, we don't know yet, but she is taken away from the competition. So she lost the point for her team, and she's not looking like she's feeling real good either. All right, next we've got Amber versus Tori up in the competition. Amber falls. Tori wins this one. So another point to Fessel's team. And then we've got Anissa versus Nuris. Now, there's a lot of competitions that Anissa has competed in over the years where people kind of discount her and don't think that she stands a chance. Anissa is not going to be the one that's the fastest running up a mountain or doing a whole lot of dexterity type stuff. But when it comes to throwing someone off a plank over a body of water, Anissa just is a little bit better positioned than Nuris. This is a Uh, a definite difference, a different contrast in two different contestants. And Anissa's feeling pretty comfortable and confident, as she should. It's way too easy. As Nouris very quickly goes in. I'm not sure which was faster, Faisal knocking Kenny in or Anissa knocking Nouris in, but it doesn't matter. Anissa has won this competition as well. Yet another point for Faisal's team. And with that, Faisal has won both rounds of the competition. They have won the day's event, which makes the entire team safe. So they got to be feeling pretty good about that, right? I'm real curious. Now, not all competitions going forward are going to be such brute strength type competitions. There's going to be some puzzles. There may be some dexterity. I'm sure things will get shaken up because we don't want to see a runaway from one team, right? But at least from this first episode, this first competition, they've got a tough team. They've got a lot of fighters in there, and I certainly expect to see them winning their fair share and then some of these competitions going forward. But they are all safe. So what's going to happen as a result of winning this? Well, they're safe. They also get to go see the premiere of Puss in Boots. I'm sure hey, why not? That sounds fun as well. But the main thing is the safety. But here's how it's going to work out. We're starting now to find out how eliminations are going to work out. Because TJ says, all right, at this point now, the other team has 4 guys, 4 ladies. You as an entire team, Faisal, are going to interrogate for potential elimination the 4 guys. Yes, it's a guys elimination week. A guy is going to be eliminated. Apparently, there's 4 guys in there. They get to talk to all 4 of them. It sounds like Faisal's team will decide who's guaranteed going into elimination, just like we saw previously this season where they picked a duo that's guaranteed to go in and fight for elimination. Now they'll pick one guy guaranteed to go into elimination, and assuming that maybe they draw daggers after that, the other 3 to see if someone's safe and protect someone, but we don't know that for certain just yet. But they are going to talk to the 4 guys. All 4 of them are potential targets for eviction this week. So who are they going to put up? Who is at risk knowing what we know at this point in time? Well, it seems like Jordan and Devin could certainly be at risk just because they are the biggest targets on that side. I guess it comes down to this. These vets in particular on Faisal's side, do they want to try to weaken the other team as much as they can while they can, get some of these strong players knocked out before you get to the final? If that's the case, Jordan and Devin are pretty good options. Or do all the vets want to stick together just a little bit longer, go for the newbies, go ahead and get a couple of newbies out in Horatio or Kenny, with the idea that maybe if we don't go after y'all's vets, y'all don't go after our vets, and maybe we all stay safe. There's a lot of strategy that comes into play because in addition to all of this, every one of those guys that's at risk this week on Mariah's team has a ride or die sitting on Faisal's team that may be wanting to protect their interest and try to protect their particular person. So a lot of strategy coming into play as we start these interrogations. So let's talk about the interrogation itself. Bananas starts off right off the bat saying, look, I think we need to weaken the other team. Well, we've got the chance. Let's take out these strong targets. I don't want to leave anyone and then have us later saying, why didn't we take them out while we could? So that's the direction he's going. But we don't necessarily see everyone else just jumping on board and agreeing. There's a lot of dissension, a lot of people Casey saying, I'm not going to push to put my brother up. And a lot of people saying, yeah, I want to protect my ride or die. Tori saying, I don't know that I want to put Jordan up, but maybe she's the one person that seems like a little bit more willing to do it if it comes down to it. So the interrogation starts. Kenny comes in. He's got everyone laughing a little bit because he says, look, I think you need to knock out the strongest guys on my team, right? And obviously I'm the strongest guy on my team. Yeah, everyone's laughing about that a little bit, but he does follow that up with something seriously. He says, here's the thing. I'd like for y'all to go ahead and put me up right now. Pick me for elimination because I'm hoping that instead of drawing daggers, that maybe that part's changed. Maybe I get to call out who I want to compete against. And he said, I'd rather have that and be able to call out Horatio because I don't really want to go up against Devin or Jordan. He said, so if you put me in first, that gives me the chance to call out Horatio. which is an interesting idea. But I think it's Tori that says, just because that maybe works best for your game, it may not work best for our game. So no guarantees that we would do something like that. But that's what Kitty's proposing. Horatio is taking just the opposite tact. He's saying, look, I'm not the strongest player. Devin and Jordan are much bigger targets. Why would you go after me while you get a chance to go after one of these two guys? So that's his position. Devin is saying, look, if it was me, if I was on y'all's side making a decision, I don't want to get people mad at me. I don't want to create all kinds of issues. I would be picking the person to go into elimination that has the absolute least chance of returning. And he says, then, that's probably not me. That's probably maybe Kenny or Horatio. So he's basically throwing them under the bus, saying, go for the easy choice. Just take them out. And he goes in saying, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'll tell you anything you want to know. And then he proceeds to give a lot of gobbledygook answers that don't really explain a whole lot of everything. At one point he says, yeah, I just gave an answer. I'm not sure they even understand what I just said, but they're buying it seems like. So that's Devin's tact is, hey, go after the easy guys. You don't want someone coming back that now has a vendetta against you. And then finally we've got Jordan. Jordan comes in. He's kind of challenging it. He's not animosity, but certainly not backing down, not begging for his life or anything like that. Jordan is saying, look, if I'm picked, if y'all pick me, obviously my team, if given the choice, is not going to pick another strong player such as Devin to go against me. They're going to pick an easy player that allows me to stay and help the team. And he said, so you're not really getting rid of me. I'll be back. And he says, if it's just not going to work. And so why would you put me up in the first place? Tori asked him at one point, she says, look, you and I have our thing right now. If the roles were reversed, would you be going after me, Jordan? And he very much implies that he would not. He's saying, look, when I say things, I mean them, and you should know better than that and all that. And he later tells the camera, says, he almost takes as a bit of a slight that Tori thinks that if he had the chance, that she would be his biggest target, the one that he would want to go after. He's not saying he wouldn't do it if it worked best for his game, but he's very much implying that she's not worth his time. He's got much bigger fish to fry if he has that kind of power. So he's suggesting to her that no, he would not go after her. But again, Tori seems like she's upset enough with him fooling around with Norris that she'd be willing to put him up if she had a chance. Excuse me. All right, now, finally, we've got, before we go to the competition, good news. Nany's back. Nany walks in the door. She says she's perfectly fine. Certainly, Casey is very happy to see her. Everyone's happy to see her. You don't want to see anyone get hurt during these shows, right? Nany's back, says they did a full range of tests. Everything checks out fine. She hit hard. I'm not suggesting there was anything other than pure pain and feeling horrible after she hit, and especially when you hit on your side, your neck, and all. You got to be careful. But fortunately, Nany is back. She's still in the game. She hasn't had to step out or anything else, so that's good. And with that, we have a quick little visit to the fake nightclub before we get to the challenge, the elimination competition itself. At the nightclub, we got a few conversations worth talking about. We've got Amber and Mariah and Horatio talking about needing to work together and maybe, doing what they can to help each other out, and suggesting that maybe sending Kenny in is the best thing if they get the chance to make some kind of decision, if they get the chance to vote somehow and pick who's going up against whoever the other team has picked for the elimination competition. Again, we don't know exactly how it's going to work just yet. So they're saying, let's send Kenny if we can. But Tori, meanwhile, is suggesting to Faisal that maybe they should send in Horatio as their top pick. Send him in and not start a war between the vets on both sides. She's saying, why do we want them mad at us? Then they'll win. They'll come after us. They're going to come after us, Faisal. And so she's very much selling it as, let's take the easy path. Get the newbies out first right now. Faisal's seeing through that. He knows that Tori and Devin are like this, that she doesn't want Devin put up. And so he sees some ulterior motive in what Tori's suggesting. Doesn't really seem like he's buying this at all. We do see at one point Tori apologizing. I think that's a good word. Apologizing to Jordan kind of being upset with him for messing around with Norris and making things difficult inside the house, and maybe for being so eager to go after him and such. So she's apologizing to him, and it seems like they've hashed things out just a little bit. Tori does suggest to Jordan, says, look, if we don't put you up, we don't know yet what we're going to do, but if we don't put you up, Jordan, we scratch your back. Could you scratch our back and maybe maybe return the favor? If y'all get power at some point, watch out for us as well, just the way we're watching out for y'all. And Jordan's very non-committal at this point in time. He doesn't say no. He just doesn't say yes. I think at one point Jordan says, I'm going to do whatever benefits my team. In fact, I think he says that to the cameras, not so much to Tori, of saying, it depends on what's going on. Maybe I'll protect them if it works to my benefit, but if not, well, whatever. But Tori is certainly suggesting that to Jordan. So it sounds like maybe they're leaning away from that a little bit. And it's funny because we get Nelson a couple of times, quick little confessionals to the camera. And Nelson's saying no one wants to declare, no one wants to say what they're going to do. But he says, but I know, we all know what everyone wants to do. Everyone wants to put up probably Horatio or Kenny. They don't want to put up Devin or Jordan. They don't want to get anyone mad at them. They're just not willing to say that out loud. And he says that a couple of times. And I think he's probably right on that case. All right. Let's talk about the elimination itself. We've got Faisal's team upstairs. We've got the 4 guys downstairs. Faisal and team have to vote one after the other who they want to send in for elimination. Now, they never decided. All this talk, no one ever reached any kind of agreement on what they're doing. Faisal's in a difficult situation. You want to be the last person casting your vote, I think, so that there's no blood on your hands. Not the case for Faisal. He's, as a captain, or at least the starting person on his team, he has to give the first vote. He looks around. Everyone's whispering a little bit and trying to figure out what they want to do. Why wouldn't they've already decided? Whatever. Faisal casts a vote for Horatio. It goes down the line. No one wants to rock the boat, as it turns out. Nelson is exactly right. No one wants to rock the boat. Every single person says we're sending in Horatio, except for Olivia. Horatio's ride or die. And she says, I just give him the love to Kenny. So I'm going to vote for Kenny. I'm not, there's no way I'm saying Horatio's name. I'm glad they got back together and are on good terms, because last episode they're a little upset after the mini final was over. They're back on good terms. She does not vote for Horatio. Doesn't matter. By 7-1 vote, Horatio is going in to compete against someone to see who's going home. So the big question, how are they going to decide who else is going up against at this point now, Horatio, to see who's actually going home? Is the losing team going to get to pick? We've seen seasons where that would have been the method that was used in the past. No, not this season. We're sticking with the tried and true. We're doing the same thing that we did before. Horatio's going in. The other 3 guys are going to go over, draw daggers. One of them will draw safety. Whoever draws safety gets to protect one of the other 2 and basically decides who goes into the elimination against Horatio. So, who draws the safety dagger? Devin. Devin has got himself safety. He was very happy to see that. He said something about how he knew he was going to draw the safety dagger from the night before even. He knew he wasn't going to get picked. He knew he was going to draw the safety dagger. Devin's a lot of talk, but in this case, he's absolutely right. So, who does Devin save? Who does Devin send to elimination? Devin saves Jordan. Remember the conversation earlier? Devin and Jordan talking, Devin proposing to Jordan, saying we need to work together. Well, this is the first, I guess, opportunity where he can show that he's truthful in that he's sincere in working with Jordan. And I think Jordan recognizes that. If Devin had put Jordan up at this point in time, there's no, they're enemies from this point forward. He doesn't do that. He saves Jordan. Jordan is appreciative of it. Kenny, therefore, is going to be going up against Horatio. One of these 2 newbies, one of these 2 rookies is going to be going home this evening, unfortunately. And it's just like Nelson said, the 2 newbies end up competing against each other. So what's the game itself? I think it's called Breaking Barriers. Basically, it's a long hallway similar to Hall Brawl, except you've got different doors that you have to break through, open. Whoever can get to the very center first wins, stays alive. The other one goes home. First door is a lot of sheetrock that you have to punch your way through, break through, kick through, whatever you can do to get through the sheetrock. And then the following doors have bolts, screws that you have to unscrew, a lot of different things that have to be done. And you basically have some different tools that you can use. I believe a set of pliers, a bolt cutter, and an axe. So it's all about who can break through the next three barriers, or all four barriers, the quickest. TJ starts the competition up. Horatio takes the early lead. And Horatio tells us that he's done construction with his dad before, so he feels comfortable around these tools. Kenny, meanwhile, tells us, yeah, I've never really done anything like this. So you kind of see a little foreshadowing, and it turns out to be valid because Horatio takes the lead through the first few barriers. Now, the very last barrier consists of a lot of nuts that have to be unscrewed with a set of pliers to get the door open. I gotta say, as great as Horatio did for the first part, not so much here. Kenny's working those nuts, those screws, unscrewing them. He's actually caught up with Horatio. You're starting to wonder if maybe this is going to be a photo finish. No, it's still, Horatio just had too much for the lead. Horatio gets his last screw unscrewed, last bolt unscrewed, gets that door open, hits the button. Horatio, yet again, how many competitions has he won in the elimination arena? I guess they're calling it the zone this year, but how many eliminations has he saved himself from? A lot. Yet again, he has saved himself, which means that Kenny, unfortunately, is going home. The worst possible situation for Casey and for Nany as well. But they were aware this could potentially happen, that he could be a target. They know how this works. So, yeah, unfortunately, Kenny just hadn't had a chance to really prove himself, and Horatio stays alive. Now, from the standpoint of Mariah's team, this is probably a best case situation. I certainly think that everyone on that team thinks that Horatio is a stronger competitor than Kenny is. I think they're probably right. And so they have kept their team as strong as possible. Jordan and Devin are still both there. So no huge harm to this team just yet. So, yeah, I think Mariah's team's probably pretty happy at this outcome. We'll see what happens next week. Again, not every competition is going to be brute strength. When it goes back the other way, when Mariah's team wins this thing, are they going to do the same thing? There's only two newbies on Faisal's team, and that is Olivia and I can't remember who the other newbie is, but they're Olivia's not an easy person to send out the door either. There's no easy choices on Faisal's side, so we'll see what happens somewhere down the roles when the roles are reversed. So there you have it, guys. Oh, except for one extra little twist that TJ throws in at the very end. Everyone heads out, heading back to the house away from the elimination zone and all that. And funniest thing, here comes Kenny wandering back into the elimination arena. Is he lost? Is he waiting for the bus to show up? No, of course not. TJ sitting there and says, "Hey, Kenny, I know you think you're going home, but this is ride or dies. And so it's not going to be that easy or that cut and dried. As long as you're ride or die," which happens to be Casey in Kenny's case, he says, "as long as your ride or die stays alive, so are you." So apparently these eliminations, they're going to go off and sequester somewhere else. If Casey gets knocked out next week, then both of them go home. That's the end of it. But apparently at some point in time, if Casey can survive long enough, Kenny may get back into the game. Is it going to be one person who's eliminated that gets to come back in, or are there going to be a couple somewhere down the road? Are all the I don't know. Well, we don't know how it's going to work out, but it's making it exciting. Nothing is ever easy or simple with TJ in the challenge, right? Well, yet again, we got a twist that no one is counting on. Everyone thinks Kenny's gone for good. Maybe not so much. So there you have it, guys. A fun episode. I'm looking forward to the next few weeks to see how this new twist, the two teams going against each other, works out. There's a lot of moving parts. Vets versus newbies, one team versus the other team, old alliances, ride or dies, just a lot of different things that we'll have to take into consideration. So I'm looking forward to episode 11. But until then, guys, y'all have a fantastic week. I'll be back for a recap of episode 11. Till then, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.